I will go ahead and kick us off. So first of all, I just want to welcome everyone to our March webinar Wednesday. So I appreciate your attendance. We have a great session for you today, which we're very excited about. I am Melissa Pomeroy with the Cooperative Credit Union Association, and I am very happy to welcome today our partners, our friends from Marstone. So with us today, we have Margaret Hartigan. Margaret is the CEO and founder of Marstone, Ben Baker, and Martha McKinley. And for those of you who are not familiar with Marstone, Marstone is a digital wealth management company, and they've been around for, I think it's over 10 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And Marstone's mission is actually to make investing accessible for all. So what Marstone really looks to do is empower credit unions to empower their members to be able to invest digitally and really help with that overall mission of helping members secure a successful financial future. Marstone has some great tools and technologies that they have developed. These tools and technologies, this platform does leverage AI. We're going to touch a little bit about that in the presentation. But ultimately, what Marstone offers and what we're going to talk about today is the trends of what's happening in our industry as it relates to wealth management. I know there's a lot of credit unions out there who think, I don't have a wealth management organization. I can't afford to hire a wealth management team to come on site. Well, there are other options. And Marstone has been getting a lot of great traction in this area, specifically with some credit unions. So it's a very relevant topic and hopefully some very exciting stuff to answer. So before I pass it off to these three folks, again, appreciate you all being here. We will save time at the end for some questions. As they come in, feel free to either save them, come off on mute, or might be a little bit easier to just go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we'll make sure we get those addressed at the end of the session. But without further ado, Margaret, Ben, and Martha, thank you very much for being here and for supporting the CCUA, and I will pass it off to you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Melissa. It's an honor to be with you all. Ben and I had the good fortune of recently being at GAC and got to meet a number of you and also earlier conversations and golf events and whatnot. So I'm joined by Martha McKinley, who leads client integration, client success, but is also one of the co-creators of our wellness tool that is really financial literacy checklist that really goes beyond wealth management or investments. When we think about wealth management, we think about, money market accounts, high yield CDs, anything that really helps one create wealth. So it doesn't necessarily have to be investments. I'm also joined by Ben Baker. Ben Baker is also a co-creator of many of our platforms and ideas, but he leads enterprise sales for us, and he comes from financial management and wealth management. He's a CFA, previously worked at Morgan Stanley and other places. So thank you, Martha and Ben, for being with us. So this is a particularly important and exciting group of people to be with, that is you all, because I'm actually a New England native. I was born in New Hampshire. I live in Rhode Island. And so the more that we can collaborate and help credit unions in our region is something that is of particular importance and a passion to mine. As Melissa highlighted, you can advance, Ben, Marstone is our origin story is digital wealth. And my background was that I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch for more than 10 years, beginning in the ashes of the dot-com era to date myself. I was living in San Francisco at the time. I was client facing. And I lived out there through 2007 and the mania of 2007 and was client facing. And then I moved back to the East Coast. I moved to New York. And there I had a front row seat to the great financial recession. And it was in that role that I saw three challenges that were facing really all financial services, whether it's a credit union, a wealth management company, or an insurance company. And that was a lot of people just felt very uncomfortable about money. They didn't understand the terminology of investments. They didn't understand APRs. A lot of people got upside down with their houses. And I thought, wow, is there a way that we can use technology to complement our day-to-day activities? But can we also lean into design and have more of an Apple-like experience that would help people see themselves in their money and demystify the jargon and complexity of investments, banking, and whatnot. So that was the first thing. Even doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how much education you might have. When it comes to money, people have a lot of fear and anxiety. So how can we meet members where they are? The second challenge was, beginning in 2008, when people thought maybe the tax code was going to change under President Obama, we actually started seeing the first phases of this great transference of wealth. And again, when I talk about wealth, I'm not talking just about stocks and bonds. I'm talking about, titles to homes. I'm talking about gifting, deposits, and any sort of kind of legal estate planning and whatnot. And when I started seeing this first wave of money movement, I thought, wow, when this really happens as baby boomers and obviously the World War II generation are doing more wealth planning, how are we as financial institutions, whether it's a credit union or a wealth management firm, how are we going to properly manage the investments and questions that our current members have? But how are we going to do it now that we have to talk to all of their heirs? It's very difficult to do from a people-to-people value proposition alone. We really need to embrace technology to help us meet their needs. And then lastly, the third major challenge I saw was the younger generations are so large. The way that they conduct research, the way they like to consume information, even back then was different. And we really needed to use technology to better serve and engage the needs of this new emerging member base. So that's our background story. We're a mission-driven company. We want to help meet members where they are, and we want to help them learn in an intuitive way so that we can properly educate and offer opportunities that are suitable for them. Go ahead, next, Ben. So that's what we created. We, as Melissa said, our origin story was wealth management and investments, but we really believe that financial wellness and goal-based planning are sort of the holy grail. Not everyone is ready to be investing right now, but almost everyone needs help getting their financial house in order. So all of the credit unions that we've talked to, many of them, you've done unbelievable success in your digital transformations from online account opening to app experience. And now what we want to talk about is, what are the other opportunities that we can offer credit unions like yourselves? What are the extensions of real estate, if you will, real estate of phone or app, that you can get more data and more insights about your actual members? So again, that you can offer, whether it's a car loan, a mortgage, a savings or HSA account, how can we help you better serve your members and offer personalized messaging and whatnot? Go ahead. So when we talk about digital engagement, what we're talking about is there's some pretty historic and monumental things that are taking place. We've heard a lot about it in the news over the last couple of years, but we're seeing a historic transfer of wealth between generations that's anywhere up to $84 trillion. And again, when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about stocks and bonds, but we're talking about deposits. We're talking about insurance policies. We're talking about homes, things of that nature. I think we're all seeing it that although they may not be our most profitable membership base, but we're seeing a lot of growing interest in credit unions and in financial services amongst the younger generations. And again, the way that they want to consume and get information and transact is really different than we've seen before. We're also seeing some interesting trends that are really different from even when I was growing up, where it's actually investments that become one of the things that people are really curious about through Robinhood and whatnot. And we're seeing opportunities where sometimes people are wanting to actually consolidate banking and other things where they're doing those activities. I think we're seeing a lot of interest and curiosity by people of just wanting knowledge. What should I be doing when I think about buying a house? What should I be doing when I think about maybe starting a family? And what's kind of really shocking is the amount of information and financial advice folks are getting from things like TikTok. In 2023, TikTok reported a 373% increase in financial content. It even has its own hashtag called FinTok. Go ahead, Benno. So like we said, there's this huge transfer of wealth happening. Uh, and that is a huge opportunity for all of us to get more deposits, be able to do deeper engagement with our households and really start penetrating, being able to work with the next generation of members. But how they want to consume information and what they look to is a bit different. And we thought this was an interesting statistic that in 2030, up to 80% of new wealth management clients will want to access advice in a Netflix-style model that is data-driven, hyper-personalized, continuous, and potentially by subscription. And it's not just wealth management. We're actually seeing this for a lot of coaches about, financial literacy or debt consolidation. People are looking to different places for this information, and they want to see more of a community-like experience. And what are people like me doing? The competitive edge is, more important than ever, but I really believe that credit unions are in the pole position. Credit union members are value-driven shoppers and investors and banking clients. They're shopping on values first, and trust, community, and the values that you all have is really something that every institution would love to replicate. The digital transformation all of you have done with apps and online banking, loans and whatnot is, really innovative and really sets you apart. We think that you all are in tremendous position to continue to cultivate the younger members that you're seeing. And we believe that with more financial wellness and AI-driven tools that enable you to understand their desires, their priorities, and what might be of most importance to them right now, really puts you in the driver's seat. Next, Benna. And again, increasingly important is community and education. Like we said earlier, we're seeing increased adoption and influencers on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. 70% of TikTok users indicated that financial topics were important to them, and 80% of users took action based on financial advice found on the app. All of these things that we're seeing, whether it's via Instagram, TikTok, or FinTok, these are all things that we can actually marry, replicate, and use within your own native social media, in-app experiences, and what have you. Next. So how can we take advantage of both these consumer behavior changes and this wealth transference? And again, wealth transference just means money in motion. With that, I would love to turn it over to Martha, who is really the creator of some of our AI and planning tools.
Great. Thank you so much, Margaret. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time over the past few years looking at these consumer changes and behavioral changes, and obviously keeping in mind this transference. And I can't emphasize enough when we say wealth transference, we really do mean just these transference of different types of assets, whether they are homes or, truly just estates, etc. And so we found specifically the TikTok statistics really interesting, specifically related to 80% of consumers who took action when they saw something on that app. And so we really understood that consumers are craving education. They're also craving this sense of community. You can get that through different social media platforms, whether you're following something, there's this sense of belonging and this sense of community. But I think we could maybe all agree that we might not recommend someone to go find financial advice on TikTok. In the good, there's also a lot of bad. And so we challenged ourselves at Marstone to say, how can we leverage technology, whether it is AI, whether it is user experience, leveraging what we have and what we've been doing for the last 10 years, and take the learnings that we're learning through different social media apps and just different research that we're doing and couple that and make a tool available to credit unions like yourselves or different institutions. And so what we took away from that is really it's so important to engage customers and members the way they want to be engaged. And that's easier said than done. It's not one size fits all, and we'll get into that here in a bit. But the 4 pillars, so to speak, that we looked to was a feed-like experience. You see that across different apps today, long and short form content. What's not included in this bullet point, but really should be, is video as well. Ensuring that a consumer can come in and they can see an article in whatever way they want to consume it, whether that is a video, it could be a 30-second video, it could be a 3-minute video, whether it is short form, like I said, or long form content. That it's an AI-driven interface. The way we leverage AI, and I'll get into this a little bit more here in a second, but we do it twofold. One, we do have an AI agent that we call Atlas AI, where a user can engage with that AI agent in the way that they do today on ChatGPT, et cetera. So that was really important to us. We felt that ensuring that that is available to users is important. But we are taking that data and learning from that data and creating those trends and predictive analytics in an aggregated way for us to learn and create, continue to innovate on a product side, but also then be able to provide those insights back to the individual institution so you have a much better, deeper insights into your user base. And then lastly, which gets me the most excited, is this idea of checklists for specific scenarios and milestones. When we looked at what was available, while there is a lot of content that is available, there wasn't an easy way to, I'm going to say, transact on that content. So to say, oh, here are the 6 steps that I saw in a video that I need to do before I buy a home, or before I apply for apply for a mortgage, or, invest, whatever it might be. And so we wanted to, again, through design and interface, say, you saw that's that checklist, but here's the physical, so to speak, although it's digital, here's the physical checklist that you can use and kind of take with you and monitor your progress. And then within those, what we're also applying AI as well to say Martha McKinley's checklist might look very different from Ben Baker's checklist. And I'll dive into that when we get into a demo here. So through that challenge, we created Marstone Wellness. It is, we'll show it to you here in a second. I will show it to you on or we'll show it to you on web, but it is a mobile first tool. And you can see right away that feed-like experience on the side. We built it with keeping all the behavioral aspects in mind, but really thinking through the total ecosystem of your institution. So Margaret mentioned, yes, we started in wealth management, but understanding that, and investing, but understanding that there's a lot more to someone's life than just investing. And there's a lot more trust, so to speak, that needs to be built in many different areas of the user's life as they navigate it. So we thought through, okay, how can we really make this as engaging as possible? So we want to educate. We call this the EARN framework. We want to educate. We analyze. We're pretty much analyzing every piece of data that we're getting. We are referring. So we do have product mapping, and I'll get all into that here in a second, but really making sure that we're not just educating. That's really important. But we're also saying we have what's right for you, whether that's talking to someone, whether that's a product, it could be a loan, it could be a housing loan, it could be an auto loan, it could be investing product, savings accounts, et cetera. Making sure that we are coupling the education with the action. So referring that, and then nurturing, making sure that we have this feedback loop to the consumer to say, and working with each individual institution, we typically do this pretty closely with them to make sure that it's not just read an article and you're done. It's, hey, Martha McKinley seems to be really interested in the topic of marriage. Maybe it makes sense to follow up with different marketing related to marriage. And what, she's really interested specifically on combining finances. So maybe there's a marketing opportunity there. So really looking at the whole life cycle of a client while they're going through these milestones, marriage, buying a home, et cetera. And we were pretty deliberate and feel it's pretty deliberate. I think when we think about wellness and we think about in the past, a lot of tools talk about goals, but there's so much more that happens in one's life that isn't necessarily a goal. Aging parents is one that's with this wealth transference means that there's a transfer happening, and it might not mean that someone's parents are, have passed, but it means maybe they're approaching that. And that's not a goal, but that's a really important milestone in someone's life that they need to navigate. And often it comes with financial aspects too, whether that's paying, end of life care, whatever it might be. These are hard topics to talk about, but we feel it's really important that we are providing consumers with a one-stop shop, so to speak, with all the different pieces that they can get. Why is financial wellness so important? We've seen this increasingly. I'm sure all of you are acutely aware of why financial wellness is very important, but it does lead to more revenue. We see 40% of companies excelling in personalization generate more revenue than their peers. 76% of customers who engage are more loyal to those institutions, and 70% of AI frontrunners in financial services plan to increase their AI investments because they recognize the crucial role. We are, I would say, in the beginning, I think, of how we're leveraging AI as an industry. We are still navigating the regulatory environment. How do we do this safely within our fiduciary, responsibilities, and making sure that we're doing this, as an industry with the right, as we approach this the right way. But we really believe the opportunities are endless, and we are seeing it just in the personalization aspect alone, how the impact that it can have on member bases. Why AI matters. We've talked about this. I'm sure you understand the importance here, but it really does augment the member experience. We do not believe AI will necessarily replace anything in what we're talking about. We really strongly believe there's a role for financial advisors. We really strongly believe there's a role for a human when you're talking about your financial life. But there is value in artificial intelligence and AI tools to provide a better experience to the user through digital means. So at Marstone, we have not only financial wellness, but Margaret talked about our ecosystem in the beginning, talking about risk tolerance questionnaires and really thinking about the user as a whole. Being able to apply AI to all the data that we're getting just means that you as an institution will know more about your users, whether that's their risk appetite, whether that's their, so they maybe got engaged and you don't know it, but they're searching articles about marriage. And so really in a non-creepy way, really being able to augment that experience is what we're seeing through personalization. And so I think we can jump into a demo here of wellness. We can go through it to just give you a snippet of how we're using it and what we're seeing. And then we can open it up to any questions that anyone has here. As Margaret mentioned in the beginning, while Ben pulls up that, we are not an AI company, but we really see the value in AI across all of our tools. And so we're really excited to kind of be in this world and be leveraging AI, and really excited to show it to you. So here's Marstone Wellness. It is all, white labeled. You're going to see it as Marstone Wellness or MW right now, but it is bite-sized financial content and tools. And so this exists anywhere that you as an institution would want it to. It can be authenticated or unauthenticated. And really the purpose is to bring users in. We work with institutions to run ads that, whether it's email campaigns or marketing campaigns, that are relevant topics, to that member base, and bringing them to this to kind of start that journey and, closing the loop on different topics that the user's interested in. So here they can scroll down just to get a sense of what it is. You see that feed-like experience. I mentioned we're showing it to you on desktop. You'll get it. You can, I'm sure, see how it is mobile first. And again, this is just a splash page. And Ben, if you want to scroll up and press start now, we started with six pretty common milestones. So what matters to you right now? We started with house, marriage, wealth, auto, retirement, and family. I'm just going to pause here and talk through these for a second, which again kind of goes to the insights and analytics piece and why they're so important. So under wealth, we wanted to make, we wanted to start simply, or as simple as we could. So we started with using wealth as a pretty broad category. Underneath wealth, there's budgeting, philanthropic giving, estate planning, investing. There's a whole slew of things that go under wealth. But through analytics and through also just, research and user feedback, we found a few things. One, the word wealth tends to have a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to some consumers. A consumer that doesn't, has $500 to invest, or maybe, has a emergency fund, and they're thinking like, okay, I have aging parents. How do I do this? They're not necessarily thinking of themselves as wealthy. So they're not clicking on that. So we are, again, iterating and making sure that that category or that milestone is more reflective of what we're hearing and seeing from a user base. We also realize that budgeting right now, debt management, just kind of getting your house in order are things that consumers are wanting and craving. We can see that, again, we do look at different content that's created because it's being created for a reason. A lot of content is being created for that. And so bringing that back in and learning and evolving that here. So Ben, we could just click on housing. These milestones will change, they'll grow by member base, by user activity. We are really wanting, as Margaret mentioned a quote in the beginning, this Netflix-like style. When you go on Netflix, it's like recommended for you. Hey, here's based off of your engagement, here's what we think. That's AI, and that's being applied here as well. So you're dropped into the feed, bunch of different articles. I'll have Ben click on one down here that just shows that we do bring in videos because those are important. And also I'll highlight here, again, what we're doing on the back end is collecting insights. So Martha McKinley is clicking on videos, maybe spending more time on articles that have videos. Maybe she's more interested in videos. So then serving up articles specifically related to videos, but then also looking at the different topics and saying, how can we making sure that the recommended for you is relevant to whatever I have uniquely been searching. But we also, I mentioned this in the beginning, making sure that that product piece is coupled with the tool. So looking at making sure that the customer is getting the best recommendation. So in this case, if it's housing, you could put, hey, enroll in our online mortgage application. Or maybe the online mortgage application isn't the right application for them. Maybe talking to a consumer is, or excuse me, a specialist is. And so really through AI and the data insights that we're getting about the user and, Martha McKinley as a whole member, being able to make sure that that product recommendation and that transaction is appropriate. Of course, there's different categories and milestones over there. I'm going to quickly jump to the AI Agent Atlas so you can get a sense of how we're using the AI agent. This is, I won't go into too much detail because I'm sure most of us have used tools like ChatGPT, but we did feel that bringing in an AI agent was really important. Twofold. One, you can get a lot more information about a consumer from conversing with them. So of course, we want to get the insights on what topics they're interested, but you learn from your members in a way that you're gaining more data about them than you've gained before through, conventional means at scale. So we can't all be active 24/7, but Atlas AI can be. And so again, really making sure that that was available. In Ben's example, he says, I want to buy a home in Stratton, Vermont. We might know that Ben lives in Rhode Island, but hey, he's interested in Stratton, Vermont. Again, just data. You might, again, through traditional means, you might know that he's interested in buying a house, but here he's telling you a little bit more data about them. It's actually in Vermont. And so there's just a lot more through AI that we feel through an AI agent like this that we feel is really valuable to the institution, and just, again, giving a whole holistic picture in a way that is really valuable to you, but really valuable to the member as well, because you'll be able to provide a better service to them. We started with our AI agent on just specific to making goals and creating checklists. Again, this is newer, bringing AI to financial services in this way. And so making sure that we are doing it in a really deliberate manner was important to us. And the last piece, and we can just briefly highlight this, and then I'm happy to open it up to questions, is this idea of checklists. I mentioned I was super excited, and I'm super excited about this piece because I just think the value here to the member is amazing. So when you think about buying or, a milestone, there's a lot more than just opening an account. What accounts right for you? That's important, don't get me wrong, but there's a whole slew of things that goes along with a milestone that maybe isn't captured by a quick Google search. So how can we bring in education, but also clear, like, hey, this is what you need to do. I live and breathe by to-do lists and checklists, and hey, I need to, this is my to-do list for the day. And so this was slightly inspired by my own personal life, but we are applying AI to this now, and this is where I'm just so excited. So, if you click on buying a home, let's say, hey, I'm buying a home, and traditional means I go to Google and I put in mortgage calculator and I put in, oh, here's my annual income, and this is, how much you could maybe get pre-approved. One of the things we want to do is take it a step deeper and say, well, Martha, let's start with the basics. Let's gather this information for you. And again, through conversation and through us leveraging artificial intelligence, we're able to ask questions that the consumer and the member don't even realize that they should be thinking about, or they should be asking you all about. And so again, being able to draw out a little bit more information. So let's say I'm like, yep, I'm ready to purchase. Okay, cool. What's your credit score? Oh, your credit score is 400. Martha, that's we love your goal of buying a home. We're super excited about that. Let's talk about your credit score. Let's educate you on your credit score. That's one simple example. Starting a family is another one. I'm pregnant. I want to how much does having a baby cost? Well, there's an opportunity to say, this is how much it costs, but also, have you heard about 529s? Have you heard about, do you have a will? Are there things that come with that milestone that might be financial, but they might be just more about the overall member and building that member up, creating trust within that member and your institution, and really offering them an augmented experience at scale through digital means. So that was a lot. I threw a lot at you. I hope that you all, feel free to ask any questions. Like Melissa said, you can chat them. We can pretty much dive into any area here, but from a demo perspective. But just to kind of close, and before I pass it over to Margaret, there's really endless possibilities that we're approaching here with technology, whether that's user experience, whether it's engagement, whether it's artificial intelligence, from a marketing perspective, from a data insights perspective. And it's really exciting. It can also maybe be a little bit overwhelming, but it's really exciting. And I'm just really excited to kind of see where the next few years take us with technology. And Margaret, I can pass it over to you to close out.
Sure. Well, thank you, Martha. For the purpose of today's webinar, we really wanted to focus on AI and financial wellness tools education. As also part of our ecosystem, we began as an investment and goal-based planning platform. There are different ways that that can work. We can be a partner and actually handle all of the wealth management. In that case, we rev share back to the institution. We can be integrated into an existing wealth management platform. But what I'm most excited about with what we showed you today with wellness is we believe that all great relationships start with a gift, and there's no greater gift than education, opportunity, and knowledge. A lot of times members don't know what they don't know. A tool like wellness gives people a safe place to explore and be curious about all the things that they want to accomplish in life or their dreams. When we started Marstone and we thought about planning and financial wellness and investments, we really reflected on it and asked ourselves, why is it that people invest? Why is it that they save? Why is it that they sacrifice? And when we thought about it, we said, it's really Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's food, shelter, security, and then bits of aspiration and whimsy. It's our loved ones, whether it's their health, it can be our pets, our family. These are the things that we prioritize and that we plan for, and we want to create better, safer, more abundant opportunities for. There are many ways to go about that. It can be emergency savings accounts, HSAs. It can be a good money market account, a high yield CD. With the wellness tool, we wanted to offer opportunities to educate, but we wanted to offer the value of greater real estate for marketing, data insights, and then the opportunity for deeper personalized education, engagement, and nurturing to individual members. All of the information that we present on the wellness platform, it can be configured to your client base, your member base, your offerings, but we can also feather in all of the specific cross-sell opportunities or coaching opportunities or online applications. We can also feather in all of your native content that is particular to you and your group. So we extend this opportunity and this platform. All of it can be configured. You can have just wellness, you can have wellness and investments or planning, but it can also be configured so that it has all of your branding and all of the native offerings and content suitable for your members. So we deeply appreciate the opportunity to spend this time with you today. If you aren't comfortable asking a question publicly or you want to reflect on this, feel free, obviously, to send them to Melissa, Amanda, and Janelle, but also happy to share our personal information with you, and feel free to contact us directly. So with that, I just want to thank you again for having us, and I'll turn it back to Melissa.
Great. Thank you, guys. Very interesting. A lot of information to cover in a short period of time, I know, but again, thank you for that presentation. The chat will keep open. If anyone has questions, please feel free to send them over. And as Margaret mentioned, also please feel free to follow up afterwards. But as I'm sure you are not surprised, I have actually a couple questions I'd like to ask, if you don't mind. So when I look at your platform and I hear what you're talking about, on one hand, so many of the things that you pointed out and that you mentioned just resonated with what we're hearing from credit unions so often, in terms of how to get this in the hands of their member and really kind of empower individuals, empower members, so to speak, to really be able to take control of their financial health and therefore build wealth. And that's obviously very, very aligned. If a credit union is doing a piece of what you showed and not all of what you showed, and only wants to start with maybe one segment, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but how easy is that to just plug in a piece of what you're doing and tie those benefits back to maybe something that they're already doing or something that they've already implemented? A little bit of a broad question, but is that something you guys have had before?
Well, no, it's a great question. And we can go into this in more detail too. So we have done collaborations and integrations with different online banking providers and core so that we can facilitate a single sign-on experience. We also have folks that may not have it in roadmap for those tech resources, and they just have us begin as a link off of their website. And then there's an interstitial or landing, intermediary page, and then it goes to a co-branding experience with the credit union and Marstone. That's available both for wellness that we showed you, but also the investment opportunity. And that can be up and running in as little as 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
The inspiration for wellness and for some of the investment opportunities or platforms that Melissa, you and I have discussed was how do you make these tools and services available to all financial institutions and try to really reduce the barrier to entry from a cost standpoint.
Great.
So it's very flexible, and you can choose just wellness. You could just choose investments. And
so that I will just tee up, and we do have some questions that came in that I'll jump to, but I think your last point that you just made, Margaret, kind of will lead us right into this next question, which is, I'll just read it verbatim and you can take it from there, but what is the cost? Do you handle the analytics and provide reporting? Smaller credit unions may not have the bandwidth to go into a portal. So is that something you can manage on our behalf? So that's a bit of a softball there, and I swear I didn't plant that question. So
no, and I'm not being obtuse or opaque. So yes, that's a huge benefit and value prop that we offer to the credit union is that where appropriate, we will take on the analytics, the reporting, and also if there are any marketing folks on the line who might be concerned, holy smokes, this company's coming in and now they're gonna, take my piece of the pie. That's not at all. We wear your jersey. You can use our real estate and make it part of your fly cycle as much as you want. I will say that one of the benefits of the wellness tool in particular is you're now creating this space that people want to come to versus us always pushing outward. And I'm not saying that the other digital assets for the credit union aren't desirable pull mechanisms, but what we've found with wellness is they actually love coming, and they love those little bite-sized pieces of information and kind of a virtual high five, like, you know what? It's like their day-to-day Mel Robbins or, Goop or whatever high five. I really do try to have a minimal upfront cost and then some sort of monthly licensing to a point. But I'm pausing only now because we actually haven't gotten to the end of job. I think there was a sense of like what the appetite was.
Great to hear. Another question has come in, which is, since Marstone can interface with existing platforms and products, does that mean if a CU currently works with a QSO, TrueStage, or a private member investment advisor, is that acceptable?
That's an awesome question, and I would thank you for whoever planted it. Really. So yes, and yes. For those of you who work with TrueStage, you're working with LPL, and you'll notice that maybe they don't have a purely, from very low dollars up to more digital opportunity that doesn't require an advisor. So one of the things we hear a lot from credit unions is, gosh, we have these great partners at TrueStage and Cetera, Raymond James, and others are an outside independent. But you know what? They want to work with folks that have certain category or minimum of investments, and that's natural. But the unintended consequence of that is so many people potentially are being turned away, and it's very hard to repatriate those members when they've looked at Robinhood or Betterment or Vanguard or Schwab. And what we're really trying to do is make sure that we have a virtual, arm and embrace around these members and nurture and educate them so that then they're ready to go up to the human advisor. So we do have carve-out relationships that enable us to work with those institutions. And we have existing relationships with probably all of those that you've mentioned.
That's great. I'm guessing that was, I did not plant that question, but I am guessing that was a question that, a few folks had.
And just so you know, too, we will not compete against the human advisors. We have found many institutions that have financial advisors, they're actually happy to have a place to refer. so that they stay under the credit union's umbrella.
Sure.
And meanwhile, if we see folks have a certain asset size when they do our risk tolerance questionnaire, or whatnot, we will give them the opportunity to meet with an advisor. So we will also cross-sell back. So it's really meant as a partnership.
So, I mean, just from some of the points that were just made as a result of that question, when we think about, the credit union way, which is cooperation, collaboration, clearly, I think it's twofold. One, it shows that you get the credit union way, the idea of cooperation, but at the same time, that's the path to success as well. So competing with folks isn't the path to success, nor is the path for a credit union to offer one and only one way of doing things. And I think even more so, it allows credit unions to kind of continue their path towards things like financial wellness for all members, not just their members that have a certain amount of assets, and financial inclusion for all. I guarantee, whether it's a younger population who haven't amassed wealth yet, or just generally speaking, a population that doesn't reach a certain threshold, I guarantee that many of them think that wealth management, in their definition of those words, they don't qualify for that. And I think this is a way to show that that doesn't have to be the case. And I guarantee that all of our credit unions have members that could benefit from this. So it's very, very interesting, and also unique. I've only been in this kind of world of, let's take a look at what's out there that our credit unions may be able to benefit from, and how do we get the magnitude of scale and whatnot. But digital wealth management has not come up a lot. So I think that's it's great to see the traction you guys are getting, and the commitment in particular to credit unions. I have one more question that came in, which I think you will like, and that is, are there any handouts, information that we can bring to our leadership teams? So if you wouldn't mind, I know I have quite a bit, but if you guys would like to dictate exactly what's relevant, I would be happy to make sure we get that transitioned over to everybody that registered for this call. And I will say, there will be a recording of this webinar that will be sent out and made available to our membership as well. So we can make sure to act on both of those.
Well, thank you, Melissa, and thank you all for your time and the active questions. I also want to say that when we work with you all, we're happy to help think through ideas of segmentation, and where is the right place to start and things of that nature. I can tell you that the research that we're seeing with other credit unions across the nation is everyone's really revisiting segmentation and like what their offerings are. Most institutions, 80% of their revenues and engagement comes from 20% of membership. We're now taking a look at saying, what are the profiles of those folks, and what were the profiles when they were at a certain age? We know that there's a barbell where we're missing opportunity with the younger members, and then depending on the offerings of a credit union, we're actually losing some of our valued members when it comes to us not offering the wealth management and other capabilities. So we come in very much with a strategic viewpoint as well. We're not just a vendor, and we really are the category creator of digital investment and planning in this space. We'll be 12 years old in September. And so,
Wow.
Hand over heart, my passion is demystifying and humanizing finance for all people. It's why we are now brought up this technology down to any financial institution. It's also why we're probably the only platform that's also bilingual. So if you have constituencies that Spanish is a first language, and we're going to expand that, we're here to work. So that's my closing remarks. If anyone has a better term than digital wealth too, we're open to it, because we do feel that wealth kind of turns people off, and we're missing kind of the value prop of what this is. So appreciate everyone's time, and Melissa and Amanda and Janelle, thank you for the partnership. And
great. Well, thank you all three of you. Great insights, great information. I'm already a fan, but I think maybe you got a few more on this call, hopefully. And again, to those on the call, thank you for joining. I know everyone's days are busy, and there's a lot of opportunities for webinars and information out there. So thanks for joining this one. Hopefully it was valuable. And again, to repeat, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar to share further, and my team will be following up with additional information as requested. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.